This eerie tale unfolded when I was in my early 20s, just a couple of years back. At the time, I was juggling college and a part-time gig as a babysitter. During weekdays, I looked after one family's kids, but on weekends, I tended to the children of a more affluent household. This family often spent their weekends away, entrusting me with their two young ones, James, aged 7, and Jessica, aged 5, in their luxurious home complete with a guest bedroom just for me. It was a crisp autumn evening, the leaves painting the ground in a mosaic of fall colors. The first night, Friday, went by without incident as I engaged the kids in their favorite activities, Jessica with her dolls and James with his video games. The house was nothing short of opulent, boasting a large pond, a 3-car garage, a pool with an adjoining pool house equipped with an intercom system for easy communication between the two buildings. After the kids' bedtime, I had the luxury of spending my free time in the pool house, enjoying movies and chatting with friends over FaceTime. Hunger piqued my interest, so I ventured back to the main house, indulging in some snacks. Preferring the solitude and freedom of the pool house, I returned there to continue my evening. However, the tranquility was shattered when the intercom buzzed unexpectedly, with Jessica's frightened voice on the other end, claiming she heard strange noises. I rushed back to the house to comfort her, reassuring her with tickles and tucks before she drifted back to sleep. As I was in the kitchen seeking a glass of wine, a subtle creak from the wooden floor sent chills down my spine. Dismissing it as the house settling, I tried not to let fear take over. Back in the pool house, I resumed watching my movie, only to be startled again by the intercom. This time, however, there was only eerie silence. Concern escalating, I contacted my friend Kelsey for reassurance. While peering out towards the main house, I noticed the hallway lights flicker on and a large, ominous figure appear at the window. In a state of panic, I dropped the phone, realizing the intercom had been on the whole time. Frantically, I dialed 911, pleading for help. My heart sank when I heard Jessica scream over the intercom. Desperately, I advised her to grab her brother and flee the house. Summoning every ounce of courage, I dashed to the main house to usher the kids back to the safety of the pool house. Huddled in darkness, we awaited the arrival of the police. The moment they arrived felt like a lifeline. I escorted the kids to the officers who took the man into custody. His appearance was disturbing, and his gaze lingered hauntingly as he was led away. The children's parents were immediately notified, and arrangements were made for their aunt to take them. Once my statement was taken, I returned home, unable to shake the terror of that night. The family, understandably shaken, refrained from leaving their children alone for a considerable period. They pressed charges, and I hope justice was served. Despite their kindness, I couldn't bring myself to return to that house. The memories of that frightful night etched too deeply in my mind. The experience undoubtedly left a lasting impact on us all. In the weeks that followed, the harrowing events of that night often invaded my thoughts. The image of the man's haunting gaze lingered in my mind, a stark reminder of the danger that had infiltrated the safety of that grand home. Despite the traumatic experience, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of responsibility for James and Jessica. Their innocent faces, so full of trust and vulnerability, stayed with me, fueling my resolve to ensure their safety should we ever cross paths again. As the autumn leaves continued to fall, painting the town in hues of amber and gold, I received a call from the family. They expressed their immense gratitude for my bravery and asked if I would consider returning, assuring me that stringent security measures had been put in place. Hesitant, yet moved by their sincerity and concern for their children, I agreed to meet them and discuss the possibility. Sitting in their elegantly furnished living room sipping tea, we talked at length. They explained the new security system, complete with cameras and motion sensors encompassing the entire property. Their earnestness and the visible relief in their eyes when I agreed to return on a trial basis spoke volumes of their trust in me. It was a decision that wasn't easy, but one that I felt was right. Returning to the house for the first time since that night was surreal. Every shadow seemed to whisper memories of fear, but the laughter and warmth of James and Jessica, now more attached to me than ever, made it bearable. We spent that first weekend creating new memories, playing games, and exploring the now secure grounds, rewriting the narrative of that space from one of fear to one of safety and joy. The bond that formed between us in the aftermath of that ordeal was unique and unbreakable. It was a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there's a light of hope and human connection that prevails. When I was 28, I embarked on a solo camping adventure in a nearby forest, accompanied only by my beagle, Reggie. It was November, and the days were still somewhat warm, but the nights turned chilly. Prepared for the weather, I brought along my portable fire pit, lighter fluid, an axe, a tent, a sleeping bag, and fishing equipment, aiming to catch some fish at the nearby lake. After hiking a mile from my truck into the woods, I set up camp in a cozy clearing near the lake. While fishing with Reggie, I noticed him fixating on something in the forest, his tail ceasing to wag. He's well trained, so I wasn't worried about him running off. After a while, we took a walk around the lake. From the opposite side, I glimpsed what seemed like a few figures entering the woods near our campsite. Concerned about potential theft, Reggie and I hurried back. On returning, I found my tent unzipped and rummaged through, though nothing was missing. Unsettled, I relocated our campsite further up the lake. That evening, as I wrote in my journal by the fire, Reggie barked at something in the dark woods. Feeling uneasy, I took him into the tent and extinguished the fire, not wanting to draw attention. Inside the tent, Reggie remained alert, reacting to sounds I couldn't hear. Suddenly, he growled. Something, or someone, was outside. The idea of a person lurking in the darkness was more frightening than any animal. As Reggie calmed, I tried to sleep, only to be awakened later by his growling and howling. Someone was outside, whistling and clicking, moving closer to the tent. In a panic, I feigned bravery, shouting out a warning, but my voice betrayed my fear. The footsteps receded slowly, then stopped. Reggie's growls persisted intermittently. I couldn't sleep, but I was too scared to leave the tent in the dark. The next horror was a woman's scream piercing the night, sounding like a desperate cry for help. That was the last straw. I grabbed Reggie, my flashlight, and fled to my truck, spending the night there. At dawn, I hurried back to the campsite, hastily packing up without checking for missing items. Once I had cell reception, I reported the incident to the police. I never found out what happened in those woods, and I never dared to camp there again. However, the chilling experience at the campsite was just the beginning of a series of unnerving events. At home, strange occurrences began. Objects moving, unexplained noises at night. One night, Reggie growled at a figure standing at the edge of my property, which disappeared when I blinked. Footprints outside my window the next day confirmed my fears. The sightings of shadows and whispers in the dark escalated. I found a strange cloth with symbols in my camping gear, which seemed to intensify the occurrences. After the power went out one night and I heard a distinct whisper, I sought a medium's help. She identified the cloth as spiritually significant, linking me to a malevolent entity. A cleansing ritual gradually reduced the happenings, and eventually my home felt normal again. The experience left me cautious and haunted by the memories of the whistle, the figure, and the whispers. I often wonder if the entity is truly gone or merely waiting to return.